Hello and welcome to Tabletop Oddity. My name is Jay. Firstly, I've been a little bit unwell, so apologies if I sound a little bit mental and look a little bit unkempt. That's just the way it is. But this video, I'm going to be asking the question, does Star Wars Legion kill Warmachine and Hordes? Now, Star Wars Legion is a recently announced game by Fantasy Flight Games. It's a war game in the Star Wars universe, of course, much in the same vein as, say, like 40k, Age of Sigmar, Warmachine and Hordes. That kind of, the miniatures are going to come unassembled, not painted, and, there's going to be a lot of customization with regards to the miniatures. It's on a 6x3 table, we think, at the moment. So you can, it's a war game. Now, Fantasy Flight Games used to have like a partnership with Games Workshop, and they were doing some Warhammer games. They definitely did a role-playing game that I remember I used to play with my friends. I'm not quite sure of the extent of that partnership, but I believe that that's ended. So you could think maybe, Fantasy Flight Games have already got X-Wing, that's popular, but not necessarily a war game in that kind of sense. You could say, well, this is Fantasy Flight Games taking on 40k, and with Star Wars IP or intellectual property, they have a pretty damn good chance. Now, I think Star Wars Legion will take some chunk out of Warhammer 40k's market share. I think that's true. But I think Games Workshop is they're the top dog right now. They're the biggest people. They're not going to succumb to, a new challenger like that, no matter how good it looks and how interesting the IP. I'm fairly sure we're going to see at the top of the tree 40k Star Wars Legion. Now, the interesting thing to me there is what happens to the rest of the games, because, wargaming takes a lot of time, collecting the miniatures, painting them, assembling them, removing the mold lines and that kind of thing takes a long time. So I think the risk here is to say something like Warmachine and Hordes. They are like third and fifth, like in the top played games kind of thing. And they had a strong focus on like competitive. Fantasy Flight Games seem to have a reasonable focus on competitive, so I think that's going to be like one risk to them. Warhammer, they're getting a little bit better with competitive, with frequent FAQs and that kind of stuff. So, I do think that people aren't going to have time for 3 games, and I think if a new person comes along, one, you're either going to go where 40k is because everybody's already playing it, and there's a lot of diversity, there's many, many factions kind of thing, whereas in Star Wars Legion there's probably only going to be at the start 2, and then we'll see what happens from that point on. So you've got the great IP of Star Wars versus the really popular 40k versus the competitive Warmachine and Hordes, but I think the Star Wars one might overtake that. So my point here being, I think the announcement of Star Wars Legion is really going to affect companies like Privateer Press, companies like Steamforged who do Guild Ball, because Guild Ball is still going to be a decent second, third game because it's on a small scale. Couple of miniatures, 6 or 7. I don't actually know the team size. I've never actually played it. I just feel like it's going to knock all of them down the pecking order a little bit. Apart from 40k, I think 40k is pretty much going to stay right near the top. But I feel like Star Wars Legion is going to take an absolute big, massive bite out of the Privateer Presses and Warmachine and Hordes market share. I don't want to say it's dead. That's presumptuous. They still produce fantastic looking miniatures. Still have a great game, I'm sure. I just feel like if I was Privateer Press right now, I'd be sort of pooing my kecks. I'm like, that announcement literally is going to kill at least, a third of the market share, something like that. Well, they're going to, it's going to drop, and probably significantly. if I was Games Workshop right now, I'd be sweating. And they're the top dog in that sense. So I definitely feel like these, I want to say sub games, but that's harsh. But these non-top dog games, I would be sweating. Fantasy Flight Games are on an absolute monumentally good streak of games so far. The one downfall was probably Rune Wars. I've never played it, so I'm not slagging it off. But that doesn't seem to have captured, say, like the fantasy Age of Sigmar market like maybe they would have hoped. But Rune Wars is their own custom IP. Star Wars is obviously not. Everybody knows Star Wars. Star Wars is incredibly popular. And they even had like what was deemed 3 bad films, and Star Wars still just powered straight through that, and nobody really cared. And the fact that they've got these new films that people are liking, this game might be out this year at Christmas time or early next year, straight when the new film is due to be released. Absolutely fabulous timing if they can get it out like at Christmas. That would be absolutely incredible for them. And I would be sweating. I would be pooing my keks if I was a company. If I have anybody who's in that space right now. I think Star Wars Legion looks incredible. I think people are going to be like very intensely wanting it. It's going to be in high demand, and it's looking like it's going to be reasonable for competitive as well. They have a track record with X-Wing and that kind of thing. Maybe not the best, as in some of the units are better than others and ships are better than others and that kind of thing. But yeah, definitely. It's weird. I've come on here just to say what effect it's going to have on Privateer Press and Warmachine and Hordes. And obviously we don't actually know the answer to that question. That's, we'll wait and see. My point is that a lot of people are going to be focusing on what's happening to Games Workshop versus the lower, I want to say lower tier. It seems like I'm describing the game as bad, but not the less popular games. Games Workshop are going to be fine. At least in the short term, I don't think Star Wars Legion is going to be that popular as in to completely overtake it. However, I think if you're looking for a competitive game, you're looking for a slightly less encompassing game, as in like there's not a billion factions, then I think a lot of people right now, or when the game comes out, are going to pick Star Wars Legion. And as I said, if I was Privateer Press or Steamforged, or even games like companies like Mantic, I would be a little bit upset. I'd be like, some of our market share is almost certainly going to go here. You don't really want to be playing many, many games at the same time. It's a hell of a time investment to one, learn the rules, paint the miniatures, become good. That's massive. Do you know what I mean? So I think people are going to try and stick with like 1 or 2 games. I think you could see people playing 40k and Legion. I can see people playing Legion and X-Wing. I can't really see people playing 40k, Legion, Warmachine and Hordes, Guild Ball. There'll be some people have got a lot of time and they'll be really into it, but I think for most people that's unrealistic. Anyway, I just wanted to say, let's keep our eyes open. I hope it's like it doesn't cause too much damage to any of these companies. I want them all to thrive, of course. I hope that it just increases the market. That would be ideal. But I have a feeling that in the short term, some of these companies are going to lose money, basically. I do apologize if I've sounded a little bit weird. I'm very nasally at the minute. Other than that, guys, I do hope you have a most beautiful day. And we'll see what happens. Hopefully everything is okay. I'm very much looking forward to Star Wars Legion. So have a beautiful day. Goodbye.